Hey there, Jack Bosch here with another of our podcast episodes. This is a both video show as well as audio. So if you're here on looking at it on iTunes or any of the other Android podcast platforms, then welcome. My name is Jack Bosch and welcome to the Forever Cash Live podcast. In this episode, we are going to talk about landlocked real estate, basically landlocked land. No pun intended, or pun intended, right? So land that has no road access. So what we're going to do is we're going to be right back with the actual episode.
Welcome to the Forever Cash Life Real Estate Investing Podcast with your hosts Jack and Michelle Bosch. Together, let's uncover the secrets to building true wealth through real estate and living a purpose-driven life.
All right, there we go. We are back right now, and we are going to talk about landlocked properties right now. So let me first define what I consider a landlocked properties. I get a lot of questions. When we have our student in our Facebook group, My Open Path or Forever Cash Club, either way of these names work. If you want to join us in that Facebook group, you can. We have in this group we talk about the subject fairly frequently. That somebody says, "I have this property, it's landlocked. What do I do?" Well, my first question is always going to be when I chime in on these discussions in our Facebook group. I chime in and I say well, let me ask you, what do you define as landlocked? Is landlocked something that is just doesn't have a road to it? Is that a landlocked property? And most people say, yes, that's landlocked. There's no road to it. And I come in usually and I say no. I've done over 4,000, Michelle and I, my wife and I always point to her because usually she sits next to me, but she's currently out for a few podcast episodes, but we'll be soon back. Michelle, a co-founder of the system, and I, we consider we've done over 4,000 deals. We've done research on a lot of these subjects, more research than I ever need anyone else in the world to do, or that I would care about doing, is the definition of a landlocked property is a property that has neither legal nor actual road access. So what that really means is that a property, if there's a piece of land, that's like perhaps one property away from a road, and there's no road going through it, but there is, if the county records show that there's an easement going for the property, there's an easement to the property, that means that's a legal right of access to that property, then this property is not landlord by the word of the law, as far as I understand it, right? I'm not an attorney, nor did I sleep in a Holiday Inn Express last night, but I have, as I said, I've researched that quite a bit. So the thing here is, it's not landlocked if it has an easement, because an easement means that you can literally go and take a backhoe, take whatever tools you need to do and grade the road over that easement into your property. And the neighbor that over which property that easement is declared on, he cannot prevent you from doing that. So therefore, that's it. You have road access anytime you want to have road access by putting the road where the right for the road is already established. So therefore, property without road access isn't necessarily landlocked. The other option is that there's actually a legal road, or that there's actually a physical road, but there was never given an easement for it. That particularly happens in rural areas. So let's say there's the property here, and there's a road going right next to it. The road is going right here. But if you look at the county records, this road there's no easement going along here. This road was never given. Right? This road was never planned, it was never entered, and so on. So in this case, what happens is if that road, which just happens to be like it's the easiest way to get around, some people in the neighborhood or in the rural areas, they have been using that, and they've been using that for years. They've been always, instead of taking the long road around the neighborhood, they've taken the short road, which passes by the property that you're just buying, right? Passes right by there. Now, if they have done this over a certain time period, typically depends on how long it is, 10 years in some states, 15 years in others, and so on, then what you can effectively have created is called an easement by prescription, which is basically, prescription is another word for customs, but because you're used to, like, it's been done so often and nobody has complained about it, and for so much time, that now in effect you have created an easement. In that case, you can go and have that easement be entered into the county records. There might be some bureaucracy around it and so on, and then that easement is there. So this is also not a landlocked property if there's an actual physical road there for it. So the third way that is that if there's no actual road, no easement, and literally the property doesn't have any access, that is the only property that is landlocked. So now what does that mean? Should we stay away from those properties when we do our land deals? Well, depending up to you. I buy them. You just want to make sure that you buy them at the right price, right? We buy them, and we're buying them just where the moment we find out that the property is landlocked, the value goes down and therefore our offer goes down. Let's say this is a 10-acre parcel in a little bit more rural area worth $40,000. If it had road access. Well, if it doesn't have road access, if it's truly landlocked, well, it's no longer worth $40,000. It might now only be worth $15,000 or $20,000. So you cut, I personally cut the value at least in half, and then I make my offer from there. Now, that's that, by the way. Now, when you do that, you make your offer, and now you'd say you offer at 25% or 20% of the market value. You offer $4,000 for the property. Let's say you get it accepted, as thousands of our student deals have shown. Like, there's not a week or a few days that pass by that in our Facebook group, not somebody is literally posting that they have gotten another deal at 10 cents, at 15 cents, at 20 cents on the dollar, that they flipped them and made 10, 20, 50 grand on these deals. It's just ongoing, right? It happens. It's an ongoing kind of thing that happens. It's really exciting. It's a really great support group for what we do here. And so if in that scenario, you now got this property at 20 cents on its true value, and at the same time, let me ask you a question. Does this create an opportunity? And the answer is yes, absolutely. It creates a big opportunity because you have the ability to now go and either sell as quickly for $12,000 to $15,000, make an $8,000 to $10,000 profit on the deal, right? Or what you could also do is you could also see how hard is it to get an easement to that property. Now, here's the situation. If this property is up here, and there's another one down here without road access, another one, the road is down here, and there's another like 4 properties between that and the road, well, then you will have to deal with 4 different neighbors and have them give you access to reach the property. That might be too much to deal with, in which case I would just say, put it on a contract for $3,500 or $4,000, sell it for $12,000, let the next guy deal with it. But when you deal with that, when you sell it, you don't tell the next guy, hey, this property doesn't have road access and so on. What you tell the next guy is you disclose that the property currently has no legal and physical road access, but you also say that if you put in the road access to the property, you have the ability of doubling the value of the property. So now you're creating an opportunity for that next guy, because if the next guy is willing to go to the effort of creating all these easements, now he can capture those extra $20,000 in value. So you sell it to him for $12,000, and he can sell it for $40,000 once he puts those easements in. I mean, that's a no-brainer for a lot of people. So you're creating an opportunity and you're creating an attractive deal, even though the property itself has a problem. You know, that's the way we're thinking when we want to do deals. At the same time, now, the other option is if this property is only 1 removed from the street, then you perhaps can at least contact the owner, contact the neighbor. His information is public record. Send him a letter, look him up, call him, and say like, hey, listen, here's the situation. I own the 10 acres behind your property. Would you mind giving me an easement? From what I can tell, your property is the easiest property to make that easement from. There's a space on the side of your property. It wouldn't affect anything you do, and it would really help us. And by the way, by law, you can actually not prevent me from doing that. In worst case, I mean, you don't tell them that, but necessarily. But for you to know, by the way, if they cannot prevent you from getting access to the property, even if you have to sue them, the judge is then just going to decide which access is the easiest access to your property. So if this property is right here, and the road is right here, and this would be the easiest access, right? Then the judge is going to grant that access to the property, and they're going to give you the easement and so on. But again, if the easiest you can do is just contact the neighbor. If the neighbor is reasonable, says like, yeah, can you pay me $500 because I can't use that? Pay me $500 and you get your easement. You pay the neighbor $500, and now you have captured the difference between the landlocked value of $20,000 and the landlocked value of $40,000. And now what do? You sell the property for $25,000, for $30,000, or sell it for $35,000 with seller financing. Get a $20% down payment. Get a $7,000 down payment, which is almost twice what you paid for the property. Heck, you can even just get a 12% down payment, get a $5,000 down payment, which is more than what you paid for the property. Have them pay you $500-$600 a month, and it's all pure profit cash flow for you. So again, out of a problem property, with just one phone call to the neighbor, perhaps paying him a little money, getting the easement in place, title companies can help you with that. Title attorneys can help you with that. You can get all of a sudden an extra $20,000 out of a deal. And if you do seller financing, on top of it, you get the interest on that, which adds up to another $20,000, $30,000. So you literally can make like literally $50,000 more in that deal than you otherwise would have been able to make. Right? So that's how you deal with landlocked properties. First, figure out exactly, are they truly landlocked? And if they are, great. Then you take the next step. If it's too hard to get the easement, just flip them. If it's easy to get the easement, get it and capture that upside, and now go sell the property for way more than you initially thought it was worth because you bought it or put it under contract under the premise that it was landlocked. All right. If that was of value, I would love to give this podcast a 5-star rating. Go into iTunes, rate us, leave a comment. The more the better. 5 stars is what we want, right? Everything else doesn't help. And if you like it here, if you're watching it on YouTube, go below, put a comment. What I would love for you to know is tell me something that you have been thinking about doing in real estate. Is any kind of like weird real estate deal that you might have come across, that you've heard about, and let's start a little discussion about that. And I want to see what kind of challenges you've had on real estate, and perhaps I do a podcast episode about that too, right? And make sure you subscribe to it. Make sure you go join the Facebook group, all these different things. We have a little extra outro here that reminds you of all of that. All right. With that, thank you very much, and see you in the next episode.
Enjoyed this episode? Then make sure you like, subscribe, and post your comments and questions below the video. We're looking forward to hearing from you.